Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. I'm your host, Lauren, and in today's episode, I have here with me Alexis. She is a manifestation business coach, retreat leader, and motivational speaker. So I'm so excited for this interview. And I feel like I say that a lot to every, but I'm really, really excited for, I should say, I'm really excited for everybody that I interview because I love meeting new people. But Alexis, can you please share your personal journey on resilience in relationships and the decision to cancel your wedding as meeting to manifest your soulmate?
Of course. Wow, we're jumping right into it. Let's go. Um, okay, so resiliency and relationships. Well, I'll kind of just give you the backstory of where, I came from. Um, I really started getting into manifestation after I broke off my wedding because I lost a lot of hope. I was 32 years old when I canceled my wedding. I'm 40 now. And I felt like I was late in life, the typical like, oh, I'm so late and I'm behind and I'm never going to find the person. There's no one out there for me. And I really turned to manifestation because it helped me have hope at the beginning. And then that turned into consciously visualizing and meditating upon the things that I really, really wanted. And then I started to see very, very quick results. And from there, manifested my soulmate. But, going back to having the resiliency, I feel it comes like for me, it personally stemmed from the age gap and feeling that I had to be a certain age to get married. Like, I don't think any of us grow older thinking like we're not going to get married till we're 40. We all kind of like have like some sort of number, and usually it's between the ages of 25 and 30. That's like been the average that I've seen. And so I just realized like, okay, I'm 32 and this relationship's not right for me. By the way, going back, this relationship I was in for 11 years. So it wasn't like, oh, we were only together for a few, my college sweetheart. And I think that we just grew really comfortable with one another. And after college, I started taking a path less traveled, and he started taking the well traveled route, meaning what I like to call like a life of normalcy. And I was very, very aggressive in my ways of wanting to go after the things that I really wanted. And he was okay with just living a normal life, making a normal paycheck, taking the 2 weeks vacation a year. And that's just not what I wanted for my life. And I quickly, quickly grew the business that I was in at the time. And we just started falling out with each other. He also had a drinking problem. So that was a huge factor for me. And, this was really the driving force behind me wanting to become a coach and teach women that they can also either leave the relationship or, leave corporate life or leave the business, pivot the business. And you have to release that energy in order to bring in more new energy into your life.
Yeah.
And I really learned that a lot through that situation because there was a time where I felt really, really alone. I canceled my wedding. I moved across country like very shortly after and was in a new state by myself with only a couple of people that I knew. And I was also working from home. So there was no like workplace for me to meet people. And I had to really do that on my own, which is where social media came into play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you said moved across the country, I have a very short story about that because I tried to move across the country back in 20, I guess it's been 2020 now. I moved across to Arizona with me and my daughter. Well, that just like ended because her father wanted to kind of surface back in her life and like, oh, I'm gonna be there, that whole thing. So
Yeah.
it was more of like, okay, we have to wait another year to go to court and all that stuff. So I was like, well, I guess, it's either, oh, you can live over there, but you can't have your daughter. I was like, well, that's not an option, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, we're coming back. And then since, going through my own healing, journey and going through, like, I realized, was I running away from myself? Probably. Like, I thought maybe if I
Mm.
move, I move across the country, my problems will just leave. And it's like, no, they are going to come with you. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I definitely learned a lot of valuable lessons in that time. Now, what are some of the valuable lessons that you learned through this experience?
Yeah, I learned to when your like gut is listen, I think that every relationship has its issues. Like your relationship is not going to be perfect, but if it's ongoing issues and it's been happening and going on for like months and months or even a year or more, that you really need to listen to that intuition and pull that this might not be right for you. And I've heard people say, I don't want to break up the family. I don't want my parents or I don't want my child to see that. But at the end of the day, I come from a family and I ended up my parents split up at 3 and or like 2 or 3, and both of them were in long-term relationships by the time I was 5, and now I've had 4. I mean, I have 4 parents at this point. So you just never know what your life could leave. And I always say, well, what if, they could have another parent? What if they could have another sibling or something like that? And do you really want them to grow up watching you like be unhappy? Because if you're unhappy in your life, you're not going to be able to produce happy results to the people around you.
Right.
So I feel like I learned the lesson in just listening to yourself sooner, like not allowing yourself to be quote unquote comfortable in the relationship for so long that you're scared. The fear builds and builds and builds, and you end up like never leaving. And then
Yeah.
you realize 5 years later, you're in this like unfulfilled life. And then usually something drastic will happen, like very heavy
Right.
depression or cheating or something like that, because you didn't have the guts to leave earlier. So I learned that as a lesson. My experience with moving was different. I moved for a job and it was something I always wanted to do. I always wanted to go move back across country to my home state, which was Connecticut. At the time, I was living in California. And I always had an intuitive pull back to Connecticut. And I know why now, because as soon as I moved here a year later, I met Walt, who's my significant other now. And we've been together 4 years. And he has been like the best relationship I've ever been in. So
Yes.
I think that I just really had to release that energy and be patient and work on myself in the meantime in order to and have the resiliency that's going to come and allow them to come in. And we can kind of talk about some tips that I have for, if you want to manifest a partner. Some people are doing it the wrong way. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sure you have some tips because I was gonna say, like, for one, canceling a wedding and then manifesting your soulmate involves like significant courage, I feel like, from my perspective.
Thanks. Thank you.
So, and I love that you kind of, you just kind of recognize or had the awareness. Here's the thing about the awareness and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of people just don't have, when somebody comes to me, like a client comes to me and says, well, they'll tell me this or that. And I'm like, well, why not? What if, like you said, what if they don't know that that is how they're treating you? Like, are you stating that to them? Are you communicating that to them? A lot of people I've noticed, they don't even have the awareness or consciousness level to even know that that is happening. Now, if they
Right.
do, that's a whole different thing. That's different. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. But, like, how, when you navigated these challenges and like doubts obviously have arisen in your process or the experience, like, what kind of tips would you give somebody or like the listeners that want to leave a relationship? Maybe it's not a soulmate, they just want to find themselves again, or to find that person that they're supposed to be with.
Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, there was a lot of questions there. Um, so tips that I have if you want to just start working on yourself. One thing is that you really, really need to, I think I would say my main thing is that, and is for yourself and for others, relationships with others and yourself. So working on your self-worth in your relationship is that you need to learn how to establish forgiveness. I've been sexually assaulted before, and I have been able to forgive my assaulter. I have worked with people who they've had significant crazy things happen to their children and they're able to forgive. So when people say I quote unquote can't forgive, that is a load of crap. And what you're doing to yourself is you're allowing, even if somebody killed your significant other, let's be super extreme.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to forgive, then you're holding on to the situation onto your back. You are going to continue to hold that resentment, that hate, and you will not be able to move on. Forgiving somebody is not about them. And that's where people get it really wrong.
Yeah.
And this is with ourselves too, like forgiving ourselves. Forgiveness is not about forgiving them. It's about releasing and freeing yourself from the situation. And that's what forgiveness allows you to do. It also doesn't make it okay. Just because you say, I forgive you, or you write in a letter, like it doesn't mean that you have to say, hey, blah, 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 I forgive you. I just want you to know. Maybe you release it in a different way. Maybe you do the Ho'oponopono meditation, which is a Hawaiian meditation for forgiveness. Or maybe you do a cord cutting ceremony, or maybe you write them a letter of forgiveness that you never send, or maybe you do send it, which is what I did. And so just it frees yourself from the situation. And when you're able to have forgiveness, you're able to come back to love, because in manifestation, everything comes back to love. You want to turn your fear into love. You want to turn your ego into love, your jealousy, your envy, everything comes back to love. So being able to do that. In terms of wanting to manifest positive relationships, people get it wrong where I see women who they want to be in like a really loving, trusting relationship, but they're going to bars every night and they're drinking. So
Right.
you want to, what manifestation is, for those listeners who are not familiar with it, is basically acting as if your manifestations have happened already. And when they actually happen, you're usually not as surprised because you've already been acting this way, right? Like
Yeah.
you've already been acting. So some tips that I give my clients is, act like a girlfriend now. Act like a wife now. If you want to be a wife, act like a wife now. So that doesn't include going out every night. That includes, maybe going out with your girlfriends once in a while and talking about the person that you want to manifest. Maybe send yourself flowers. Maybe make a room for them in your drawer. Maybe buy a toothbrush that is an extra toothbrush. You're waiting for them to arrive. Because if you don't start getting into the energy, then it's almost like you don't believe that it's possible for you. So you're escalating the possibility by trying to physically and subconsciously do things to already get you to be, do, have the manifest.
Right. Yeah. I love that you say that too, because I've tried every type of manifestation, I feel like. And even now I guess when I go back to when I said I want this, this, and this, I guess I wasn't even realizing what I was doing, and I was manifesting the complete opposite because of not
Mhm.
having forgiveness for myself, not having very similar. I have a lot of trauma around like sexual abuse, and from my ex-husband, from
Mhm.
when I was a child.
Mhm.
But I didn't realize that I never forgave myself.
Mhm.
Also, I would always forgive everybody else, but I would never forgive myself. So then I was like holding on to that energy of guilt, shame, resentment. Like, why is this happening to me? That all those like victim mentality mindsets. And then when I started to like manifest different things, I realized, oh crap, I'm literally manifesting. I manifested my entire life. So like I manifested the lack, I manifested the hurt, the pain, everything.
Mhm.
Not that I'm saying that I manifested the trauma, because I don't necessarily think I did that.
Yeah.
But I never really like I kept blaming all of my trauma of for whatever happened. And like I realized, how about if I just take accountability for it and then just heal it? Not,
Yeah.
like trauma was never my fault. I think I actually published this in my book too, that I said, trauma is not your fault, but healing is your responsibility. And that can be very triggering to somebody that's listening to this, because, and it is, and it should trigger you, because that just means that whatever I'm speaking is the truth. Like there's only really one truth, and that is literally the truth. So
Yeah.
I love that you had said that, because forgiveness is huge. Like I still have to every single day, I feel like lately, forgive like my ex-husband for something, because he's always trying to do something, to get to me. Like he doesn't have access to me anymore. So he does something through my daughter to get to me. And it's just like, I just have a big boundary up that I can't control that. I can help my daughter with tools. She's 4. She's very intelligent. She's very intuitive. She knows exactly what's going on. And she doesn't even like to be around her dad now. So I didn't create that relationship. He did. Right. So it's like, but
100%.
I started out thinking, oh, I'm going to protect her. And I'd done so much protecting. And like, I tried to stop her from having this experience of trauma. And what I did is I feel like I created more because I wasn't giving her, I was trying to control her destiny or trying to control the situation. And I realized I have to detach from that and just let the universe, like trust the universe that, the universe obviously knows what's going on and everything will work out the way it's supposed to work out. And I mean, even though she's 4, she still doesn't like to be with her dad. And I think she likes her dad and she likes to be with her dad, but it's the girlfriend. She's the
Mm,
girlfriend. The girlfriend's very manipulative, very whatever. So, it's very true about forgiveness because I get very resentful. Like, God, why does he have to
mm.
be like that? All that. So I always have to remind myself it's not my business anymore. It's just I got to make sure when I have her, which is 98% of the time, just give her the best, tools that she can go and, have because
Yeah.
that's really what it's about.
Yeah.
And the emotional awareness too of
Right.
that because that plays a part too, especially because that's what most, narcissistic people do. That's what they try to emotionally, manipulate. And the thing about my daughter is you never can do that for her. It's literally the hardest thing ever to do. Like she doesn't care.
Yeah.
Definitely an
Oh,
Aries in that aspect.
love
um,
them Aries.
yes. So getting off that subject, hopefully those tips were very
Well,
helpful.
I was just going to say, I think a lot of that situation too also comes back to trust and like having
Yes.
trust in yourself and other people. And obviously that's going to take a while for you to build the trust of him
Oh
and
yeah.
his girlfriend and her around and stuff. And that'll come with time. But that's a personal struggle of mine is trust. I've been, in relationships where they cheated and
Yep.
I've been in relationships where I cheated and so I've been on
Yeah.
that side too. And so because of all of this, it's still like almost me learning how to forgive myself and so I can trust and like not self-sabotage a relationship that is healthy because
Yes.
when you come from being in such toxic relationships for so long and you're all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, I'm in this 4-year relationship and we don't really fight that much" and stuff like it's almost like you're trying to protect yourself and so you find things to self-sabotage yourself on and that's
Yes.
kind of where I find myself in my relationship mine.
Yeah. I was going to say now that thanks for bringing up that topic because I actually a lot of people that I know and some of the listeners that listen, or they could be in a toxic relationship or trying to get out or figuring out their way. Um, people are always like, I want this, I want that. And, it's a healthy relationship or it feels different. And it doesn't make it easy at all. Like, I just
Mm-mm.
feel like from my perspective, I will self sabotage. Even till this day, I'm with my divine counterpart. So I know like it's a mirror of myself. I know how to love. I have a lot of love to give. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I have to still work through like trauma and
100%. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like I should say, a lot of people like, oh, is that your twin flame? And I don't believe in twin flames. So like the rest of the collective does, it's
Yeah.
more of like a divine partnership.
Mhm.
And that Netflix really destroyed the twin flame community, I have to say.
I know, I saw it. I'm very, very into cult documentaries because I'm just fascinated with human
Yes.
behavior. So I'm
Yeah.
like the first, it comes right up. And yeah, Walt and I actually watched it and he's like, "You're my twin flame, babe." And I was like, "No." But no, I
Yeah.
definitely believe that there's a person for you. I believe that there
Yeah.
could be multiple people for you. I don't
Yeah.
believe being pushed towards that people. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
So, and like if it doesn't work, I feel like you need to leave. And that's where that whole situation went wrong in the, with the twin flame community is the fact that they were
Yes.
being
People are
pressured
like
to
literally
stay in
dictating.
relationships they were not good in when they should have
Yes.
just been supported and been like, okay, let's find a new twin flame. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes. Yeah.
But I agree with you with, having a divine partner or something along the lines of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know that soulmates are like, oh, you have multiple soulmates. Soulmates could be karmic partners too. It doesn't necessarily
It could be
mean, it
like
just
best
mean like a,
friends. Yeah.
yeah, like, and I know a lot of, like, I know a lot of my like friends now. I feel like they are, I've never really physically met them in person, but I feel like I've known them forever. And I feel like I'm connected more and more with those people. Like, I feel like
100%.
we probably have some type of,
Yeah.
connection in a past life. So I
100%.
think it's like, it's usually a similar experience. Not that you have the same experience, but like a very, very similar experience. So yeah,
Yeah.
I 100% love all of those documentaries. Joey, my boyfriend, he's like, oh God, do we have to watch another documentary about cult life? And I'm like,
Oh, well, let's
I
then.
love them. I mean, it was very triggering from the, like twin flame thing, because it's really like, that isn't actually how it actually is. Like,
Yeah.
it's not, nobody's like, I have a lot of twin flames like that. They know that they're twin flames. I'm not telling them that they're a twin flame. They ask me, I'm like, I don't know, go ask your spirit guides. Like,
Yeah.
I can't tell you if you're a twin flame. I can
Yeah.
look at your astrology chart and like, well, you could have past lives with this person, but it's not my job to like hand out twin flames. Like, I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't want that job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So awesome. So I want to talk about the retreats. So
Oh.
when somebody like attending retreats for like self, since you are a retreat leader, when
Mhm.
somebody like attends a retreat for like self connection or manifestation, like
Mhm.
just like two of the topics I should say,
Mhm.
in your experience with attending retreats or hosting them, how does this contribute to the ability to like manifest easier, or maybe have specific practices that you can have through these retreats?
Yeah. I think that my manifestation retreats really, really help you break through your limiting beliefs and help transform your mindset. So, yes, like I give value on my Instagram page and all that, but when you get to come manifest with me in person, there's a workshop every morning that you manifest with me, and I teach you a new visualization sort of tip or trick, and you actually leave with manifestation tools to go home with to be able to manifest, whether or not you use them all or just one or the other, totally up to you. But really, what the retreat transformation is you coming back feeling connected, motivated, and inspired to go after the things that you want in life. Or maybe you came on the retreat because you felt stuck, getting unstuck, realizing why you were stuck, and pushing forward. I don't say my retreats are not a healing retreat. So I'm not here to like heal you or anything. I am here to guide you into realizing that what you want is a possibility for you, and not only is it possible, it's inevitable, because if you see it in your head, you can hold it in your hand, as Bob Proctor says.
Right.
um, so yeah, we do a lot of fun things on the retreats. You get to do manifestation workshops with me, in which you have tangible exercises that you can bring to your home life and do continuously. And then we have fun excursions that we do, and sisterhood circles at nighttime. I usually have a private chef. And yeah, we always do something fun. My last summer's retreat was in Costa Rica, and we did zip lining, and we did a hike to Niawaka Falls, and we did a beach day, and it was simply beautiful. But just watching everybody connect to each other and just really, really feel seen and heard, I think is the biggest thing. And you and I have talked about this earlier today, and that's what this podcast is about. Because
Yeah.
yes, we have friends, right? We all have friends, best friends, and we tell them like what's going on, like, oh, I'm having this trouble at work, or my kid did this, or my husband and I are going through this, etc. You do talk to them, but how often do you really, really like connect with your best friends on a very deep level?
Right.
And the sisterhood connection on a retreat is completely unlike anything else. So if you've never been on a retreat, not saying you have to go on mine, although of course I would love for you to come on mine, you have to go on one. It's absolutely life changing.
Yeah.
And that's usually the words that people say when they come back from my retreats.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say I can't. I'm excited for your ones that you were saying that you're gonna have in, which you'll give details a little
Yes.
bit later. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I a couple of years ago I went on my first retreat, and it was like something I could not afford. like I didn't, but it was like something that I just felt very like called to do. And it was like, right, I was actually pregnant, and I just was like, I put it on my credit card, and I was like, that's kind of like when I started getting the downloads of like, I need to leave this relationship. I don't remember if it was a manifestation one, or because I always did some type of like, I was always in like MLN or sales, like, and I always did some type of personal development, and it
Mhm.
was connected with that. And it could have been a healing one, but it was like my first aha moment of like, I don't want to be here. It was like that pivotal moment of like, I need to get out of this marriage. It was like everything that the person was talking about on the stage. I was like, is he talking to me? Like, I feel like he's talking to me. Like he's direct. Like, am I the only one in this room that can resonate with any of this? But it feels like obviously not. There was a lot of other people in there that could resonate with that. But yeah, and it was, and then kept saying like, I want to be that person, I want to be on the stage, I want to do this, and I literally just kept saying it, and it never happened. And that's kind of when I said like manifestation. I would say like, yeah, I'm a motivational speaker. I said that actually last year, and I never really had, I mean, I was in this program that kind of like helped us like kind of speak and like get our keynote speeches, but I was literally, funny, and I'm going to talk about it now, but I was literally at my last court case with my ex, and the detective that was with me, because we have a protection against abuse order. He's like, "What do you do for a living?" I was like, "Well, I have a spiritual business, and I'm a motivational speaker." I wasn't a motivational speaker, and I didn't even have a podcast. And
You
I literally
are
told him,
though. Technically you are. If you're
yeah,
just talking on your Instagram, you can be considered a motivational speaker. I mean,
yeah,
yes, it
well,
helps
yeah.
when you've been on a stage, but at the
Yeah.
same time, like,
Yeah. It was funny because then I was like, yeah, I have a podcast too. And it was like what I wanted. So I literally just told him that. And then I had a podcast a couple weeks later. And then I literally spoke on stage in last August. So it was like,
love it.
so it was like funny, and this happened in like March of last year.
Yeah.
So I had to be very careful. I had, with being in court and speaking,
Yeah.
I know for a fact that he's bought my book. I know for a fact that, he's listened to my podcast, which is
Yeah.
good because maybe, but I have to be very careful of, what I speak about. Cause, there's always, people know who he is, and I don't need to say his name, or I can't say his name. Like I literally just can't. So it's like, but people know, and people are like, wow, like, you're making her out to be this person. And it was like I had to speak my side of the story because I was being literally demolished by like society and like all of our friends and my family and all the people, because I couldn't speak my side of the story yet because I knew that I wasn't supposed to. It wasn't my time to speak. But
Right.
when it was my time, I was going to show everybody that believed him that
Yeah.
what was happening, that, like when I published my book, I had to be very vague about what happened. And people are like, wait a second, she just published something and it's completely different than the story that you keep telling everybody, so, and I didn't want to go down that route, so I was just like, I'll just have my time. And a lot of people listening could resonate with this because I feel like a lot of people, I just got so tired of hearing it. I'm like, you know what, believe whatever you want to believe, because it's just like, it's not the truth, like that's just not what happened. And I think a lot of people now feel the same way. They're like, it's not worth it. I will have my time to speak when I have my time. Kind of like the Gypsy Rose thing. I don't know if you follow her with like,
Course.
yeah, I'm
I
like,
don't follow her, but I know the story and watched,
yeah. It's
the
kind of like I actually had a dream that's funny. I don't know. She'll probably never listen to this, but it was funny. I had a dream that I reached out to her and she was going to be on my podcast, because that's
reach
pretty
out
much
to
like
her.
giving people a voice about to tell their story. And I feel like that is a huge, I don't really care what the media says. They just kind of grab the drama out of somebody's story. That's with anybody, that it could be about me too. They're going to grab the drama of my story too. But because that's what people like. But I had a vision that I messaged her, and I like woke up in a panic because I was like, oh my God, did I just reach out to her? And I didn't, but it was a message to her, like asking if she wanted to be on my podcast, because I feel like she probably feels like a misfit. She's redoing her entire life. I think her story is unique. Obviously people have the judgment like of
So
whatever they
unique.
want, but it's just like, it's actually neat that I'm like, wow, could you imagine if I had her
I think you should
like
just reach
somebody.
out to her and ask. I actually reached out. I don't know if you remember the woman from The Perfect Husband, where he was the teacher
Oh
and
yeah.
it was a Netflix
Yeah.
special. I reached out to her and she told me she'd come on my podcast. So I'm trying to schedule with her right now. So you just
Oh
never know. Just reach
yeah.
out to her.
Yeah, I was kind of nervous. Like I was trying to like take my ego aside. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I don't, people are like, oh, she's just doing this to get for clout. It's not that. It's because I want, that's literally
I
the,
think it's a perfect fit for your podcast. 100%.
yeah,
You should
yeah. Cause then people are like,
her.
oh, well,
I mean,
does she have
the worst she could do is say no or ignore you. Who cares?
right. Yeah. Or never get the message. God, like she might not ever get the message. I mean, she has like 8 million followers,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, it's
I
funny
would
now we're recording this and it's 11:11. So maybe I will reach out to her after.
Oh, it is 11:11. That's a sign.
Yeah.
And yeah, going back to what you said about retreat and how you had to put on your credit card, my first big retreat I attended, not that I hosted.
Yeah.
I went on a retreat or signed up for one when I was on unemployment. And I
Okay.
borrowed some money from my mom for deposit, paid her back, and then money started rolling in. Because when you really want something,
Yeah.
usually you end up and like you pull the trigger, you get such good energy that usually you'll manifest like something very, very similar after to either pay you back for it or that basically signifies that it was a good decision for you.
Yeah. And I do want to say anybody that has not went to a retreat, just from my perspective too, is I'm hosting my first retreat in April.
Woo!
um it's the energy and it's the space that you like when you put the intention in that space with all those women, that powerful, like it's just like a portal, I feel like,
It
which
is a
is great.
hundred
Yeah.
percent. It's unlike energy that I ever feel when I'm on, and I just have the most utmost gratitude for the women that come, leave, transform, choose to come. It's honestly beautiful.
Yes. Yes. So building on your experience of your like retreats and, we'll talk a little bit about your spiritual business. Now, how did you become like, what did you do the retreats first, or did you kind of have a spiritual coaching business first, or like, how did that kind of work? Like, how do you kind of mix or mesh all of them together?
Yeah. Retreats was just really aligned for me. It was something I always wanted to do, but I was in hotel sales and marketing for 12 years before I went off on my own as a coach. And
Okay.
I've been I've had my own business now for 5 years. So I feel like I already had the experience because I had hosted retreats on the hotel side and the operations side of things for
Yeah.
in hotels. Although most of my retreats are either at a retreat center or a like non-hotel, like a house or something like that. But
Yeah.
I already had the operations side of things, the catering side of things, and I was also the vice president of recruitment for my sorority in college. So I actually would be the one to organize our retreats for like 200 girls,
Oh, wow.
when I was like a junior and senior in college. So those 2 years I was, hosting retreats for 200 plus girls. So that was really my first experience with retreats was in my early 20s. And then when I started the spiritual world and I started going on other people's retreats, it was just like after my first one, I just knew like this is something that I need to do. I would love to even host couples retreats with Walt eventually. And it was just yeah, I got going and I ended up hosting I went on my first, not my first retreat, but like my first self-love, like spiritual retreat as a coach already. I
Okay.
went on that. And then so that was in July. And then 2 Julys later, I hosted my first retreat in Costa
Oh,
Rica.
wow. Yeah, so that
Yeah.
was Costa Rica. Oh my gosh. I always say like I want to go to Bali or do something like that because I think that just in itself is just one like a lifetime magical life-changing experience.
It
And you don't have
is.
to I always say I want to live there, but do I really? Probably not. Like, it would
Yeah.
be nice, like when my daughter's all grown up, but
Yeah.
um yeah, that's amazing. So, you mainly just do like spiritual, like for the manifestation and the spiritual business coach. Do you help people grow their or scale their businesses to six figures? Do you help them with kind of like the tools of manifestation? Is that kind of how?
Yeah, so I do in my world, I feel like you need manifestation in order to grow, because usually you're focusing so much on a strategy that
Yes.
you also need to realize, okay, what's blocking me from, like, my strategy's great, but money's
Right.
still not coming.
Right.
So we need to figure out, So I do work with you on your mindset, but I'm a multi-biz owner. So I also own a media production company. I was in sales and marketing for hotels for 12 years. So, um, the first business I opened, one of the first, I've had multiple businesses, like even in
Right.
my teens and stuff, I've always been an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But my first big business was my media company, which I still have to this day, but I have a full team who runs it now. And we help with, social media, graphic design, launching, and all of that type of stuff. So I coach women on, I help you with not only your mindset and manifestation skills, which is always included in any sessions that we do, but I also help you with your strategy. So I am an expert at, of course, retreats. If you want to do
Right.
retreats, I've hosted 6 at this point. So I can help you with both logistics and selling. I am a launch princess. I'm great at launching. I don't say launch queen because my mentor is the launch queen. And shout out
Yeah.
to Rachel. Um, so I am great at launching. I'm great at offer build outs, graphic design. I'm a whiz at Canva. So really helping you build your brand. But I'm not the business coach who is going to be like, okay, I'm going to help you like with your brand colors and like design everything
Yeah.
really. Like I'm more of like the launch strategy, offer, funnel side,
Right.
and then of course mindset and manifestation.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm actually with one of my really good friends that I published a book with, which I just connected with her a lot at the event that we both spoke at on stage. And then we really connected then, but we're both doing a program. We're launching it in March, but we're both doing a program about magnetic messaging, because I feel like a lot of times, like I've always been in sales, like I don't have a media company like you do, but
Yeah.
I've always realized like there's so many people. The one thing that I've noticed through my helping my clients, helping them build their businesses, that, you know, their message is not clear. Like they're not like that is, and I was like, so I wonder if I could build a program. So then it's funny how now I look and it's like everybody is literally like now they have
I've
a lot of
seen it.
everybody. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
This
You're like,
now.
I
I'm like,
just thought of that.
I literally, it's been like almost a year that I went through a mentorship, and I was like, okay, so like I needed to get my own mentorship for this. And then I built my own, and I was like, gosh, everybody's talking about messaging now. So it's like, it's funny how I'm like, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like the people that will resonate with me and will want to learn from me are going to want to learn from me. Like it's not
100%.
like, and that could be a message for anybody that is doing the same thing as somebody else. Like it doesn't matter. Like if they're doing, just because somebody's a manifestation coach or whatever doesn't mean that you can't call yourself one. I feel like a lot of people that also do that too. It's just that I always tell people, do not be the weird salesy person that says, do you want to scale your business from this to this? You have to work with me. And it's just like that whole weird,
That
like,
is not me at all.
yeah. And I'm not saying that, I'm just saying like there is the results. Like, yes, I know you can guarantee your clients to scale, but it's not like that's not the only thing that you're talking about. And a lot of people see that and they're like, oh, if she can do it, I can. And it's just like, it comes back to like the messaging, and everybody's messaging is completely different, like
100%.
than
And
somebody
that's what
else.
makes us unique, right? Is our
Yes.
branding and our messaging.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And I use my strategy that I usually use is everybody has their own strategy. So it's usually goes back down to their human design. So it's like whatever their human design is, it's like I'm not telling you, but I'm just teaching you and showing you like how you can do it for yourself,
Yep.
because
Yeah.
nobody is the same, like you said. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
100%.
Okay, so just wrapping up, is there anything that you like, any offers that you want to tell our audience, or any retreats that you want to kind of tell everybody about?
Yeah. If you are thinking about coming on a retreat, I would love to have you. I am hosting a business mastermind retreat in July, which will be 3 nights, and that's in Jersey Shore. Let me clarify, not like the fist pump Jersey Shore. It's going to be inland in Little Egg Harbor Township. It's really pretty area.
Yes.
That's 3 nights. And then I am also hosting a 4 night manifestation retreat. If you want to be, really in touch with your self-love and connection, breakthrough, transformation, that's being hosted on the island of Oahu in Hawaii. And that'll be at the end of August. So the differences between the retreat is the business mastermind retreat is partially manifestation and partially business. You do have to have a already running business in order to come to that retreat, and it's invite only. So if it's something that you want to be invited to, you'll have to DM me. If you want to come to the Hawaii retreat, I would love to have you. The Hawaii retreat is really open to any woman, 27 or over. That's just my demographic, and goes all the way up. I've had 60-year-old women, 70-year-old women come to my retreats. I love them. I accept it all. However, I say 27 because to me, like, you do kind of need to be established. And I'm 40, and there's a lot of transition periods from 18 to 25 in your life,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So to me, I tend to attract older female entrepreneurs anyways. So if you are interested in coming to either of them, just DM me. You can find me at Manifest with Alexis on Instagram, or Alexis Amato on Facebook. And if you mention the Lauren's Enlightened Misfits podcast, then I will give you $250 off of any retreat you'd like to go on with me.
Yay, you're so sweet.
Of course.
Yeah, you're so awesome. So is there anything else, like any last thoughts that you would like to tell the audience? Any last advice?
Yes. My last thought, going back to just manifestation, is when you really start manifesting things and things start going wrong, don't be surprised. That is absolutely normal for things to crash and burn right before your manifestations happened. And that's the universe testing you how badly you want it. And it's the universe making things happen for you. They're rearranging it. So although you may think that things are happening to you in the moment, just remember that they're all happening for you.
I love that. Yes. Happening for you, not to you.
Exactly.
So thanks for joining us on today's episode with Alexis on the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe. You can leave a review and share with somebody that you feel that will gain value from listening, especially if you would like to join her on her retreats. They sound amazing. So stay tuned for more captivating conversations in the future. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you next time.